Well, Cancurla, this is all about choices, and I have to contrast what the Taoiseach, the signal that the Taoiseach is sending to the parents of children who are worried about what the Minister for Social and Family Affairs said last night, which is in essence that child benefit is now going to be targeted in the forthcoming budget. And I contrast that with the answer that the Minister for Finance gave here last week to Deputy Joan Burton when she put to him a different kind of choice that he might make. And I refer in particular to the treatment of the Golden 10. Remember them? They were the guys that were loaned the money by Anglo-Irish Bank to buy the shares in Anglo-Irish Bank in order to bail out the bank and to bail out an even bigger shareholder. And remember that we got stuck with the bulk of that loan. 3/4 of it was on a non-recourse basis. In other words, it was only supported by the value of the shares themselves, which are now worthless, as a result of which the taxpayer is now stuck with about 300 million of a loss for that loan. Now, Deputy Burton was pointing out to the Minister for Finance here last week that not only are we stuck with the loss of the loss on the loan, but that these guys can write off the losses on the entire amount against their future capital gains tax liabilities. And she pointed out that that didn't seem to be a very good idea. And she asked the Minister for Finance, would he do something about it? And he said, no, in so many words. He said, I have no plans at this stage to make a change in this area. He said the current symmetry of treatment between losses and gains would be affected, and it would represent a significant change to our capital gains tax legislation. Well, of course it would, and a very necessary change in our capital gains tax legislation. We have a situation here now where you are going to have people who borrowed this money, who are part or contributed to the difficulty that we have in our banking system, being able to claim tax relief on losses that the taxpayer is already carrying. Is this the government's position on these guys? I mean, on the other hand, you are telling parents of children to expect cuts in child benefit. You have no arrangement like this for an unfortunate householder who is now in negative equity and who maybe has to sell the house because they can't pay the mortgage, or because they have to move, or because they have to emigrate. They can't write off the losses against future tax liability, but these boys can. Is the government serious that you're not going to do something about that in the forthcoming budget? Question I asked you last week, which was about house repossessions. I'm asking you about whether the government is going to do anything to close off a tax loophole which will cost the taxpayers in the order of about €80 million on top of the 300 million that we're already stuck with for the non-recourse element of the loans that were taken out by these guys. The issue here is quite simple. We have 10 people who belong to the Golden Circle, borrowed this money, 3/4 of it on a non-recourse basis, which means we're now stuck with that part of it. There's no question of repaying that. That's about 300 million we're already caught for as taxpayers. Now, on top of that, these boys are going to be able to write off the entire losses that they make on this arrangement on future capital gains tax liability. It's a huge loophole, and to be able to do this indefinitely, it's open-ended. It's a huge loophole in the tax arrangements governing capital gains tax. Now, Deputy Burton has already put it to the Minister for Finance that this is a loophole that should be closed off. And the Minister for Finance says, no, he doesn't want to close it off. Now, what I'm saying to you, Taoiseach, is before you come in here, or any of your ministers, or your Minister for Finance, or your Minister for Social and Family Affairs, and start telling us and telling the Irish people that parents are going to have a cut in the child benefits that they're paid, that pensioners may be suffering from some cut, that employees of the state are going to have their pay cut, and God knows what else you're going to inflict on people in the budget. I'm saying to you, will you not close off this loophole first? Why should there be one law for these people who are operating in a sweetheart arrangement, that they get their tax, that they get a tax write-off for losses that are already being borne by the taxpayer? It's madness.